Hi viewers, today we are in Germany and behind me is the new Mercedes-Benz GLC electric. Honestly, this is one of the most important Mercedes-Benz models in years because it's not just simply a GLC that's been converted from combustion to electric. It was designed as a completely new electric platform, 800 volt, more than 700 kilometers of WLTP range, 360 kilowatt of power, and more importantly, the MB.OS operating system. But the real question is, has Mercedes finally built an electric car that feels like a future? Let's find out. Let's start with the design. And this grille is probably the first thing you are going to notice. It doesn't really look like the previous GLC, it reminds me more of some older Mercedes. I have to say this grille looks fantastic, especially at night. It's nicely illuminated with the 2 stars in the headlights. What I also like about the front are the power downs, which are available on this GLC but not on the C-Class electric, even though they share a similar design. Now coming to the side profile, this car doesn't have the best looking wheels, but these 20-inch wheels look okay. They are 235mm wide at the front and 255mm wide at the rear, which provides a good balance between grip and energy consumption. There are no sharp lines or curves in the design, and the door handles are fully integrated into the body. They pop out when you unlock the car. And these running boards below are more for looks than for actual use. Coming to the rear, here's something I don't really appreciate. I don't know if there's anyone who actually likes this black bar design, but in my view, the black plastic looks cheap. Other than that, the rear shape looks like a GLC. In terms of saving materials, here's the key. It's smaller, it's lighter, but the plastic they use feels cheaper than the last generation. But the key has a nice feature. When you walk away from the car with the key, it locks automatically. When you approach the car with the key, it unlocks automatically. You can also put your hand on the door handle to lock the car. Entering the car, you will see screens. I like screens, but only if they are used well. They can provide more information, make the car more fun, and turn it into more than just a car, but only if they are backed by the right software. We will come back to the software later, but first, let's check out the interior. The absolute highlight is the ambient styles. Mercedes is so good at using the ambient lighting and creating atmosphere, especially at night. Those ambient styles are my favorite of this car. They change the color of ambient lighting and the background of the screens. I can just imagine how good it will look on the optional 39-inch hyper screen that this car does not have. And the ambient light even jumps with the music. In terms of interior, I'm happy to see that physical buttons are making a comeback for essential functions while driving. However, there are still 2 important buttons missing on the steering wheel, one to skip a song and one to go back to the previous track. You can get to wireless charging pad. It seems ventilated, but my phone still gets overheated during the test. It's better to use the USB charging port below. You get a very deep storage space and 2 cup holders. You get a standard mirror in the sun visor. The sun visor and the roof lining are made of textile fabric. It's not the most premium material, to be honest. Here comes my biggest criticism of the interior, the seats. They are way too firm for an SUV. They feel more like seats you'll find in something like a coupe or sports car. One thing that positively surprised me is the glass roof. I thought it would get too hot and let in too much sunlight, but actually it feels great. most of the heat is kept out. You can also choose between 3 settings: clear, half tinted, or fully covered. And you can control it either through the screen or with the voice assist. One change from previous GLC that worth mentioning is the downgrade of the accelerator pedal. In the previous generation, the pedal was floor mounted, but now it's top hinged. It doesn't feel as good as the previous one, but Mercedes has done a decent job with the positioning, so it's not as bad as expected. Coming to the trunk and frunk, this car does have a frunk. It takes 2 steps to open, so you probably won't use that often, but it's nice to have some extra storage space. The trunk can be opened electrically, and there's plenty of space, just as you would expect from an SUV. There are also switches that let you fold down the rear seats easily. And optionally, there's an electrically operated tow hitch, which allows you to tow a trailer. Sitting in the car, let's talk about the software. This channel is called Software on Wheels, so we are definitely going to focus on the software. And one of the main focus of the software is the voice assistant. Sometimes people complain that there are fewer and fewer physical buttons in the modern cars, but for some functions, like the climate control or seat functions, maybe we don't really need a physical button if the task can be done by just saying it. And the voice assistant is one of the biggest software priorities when Chinese manufacturers developing a car. So I want to find out how good the voice assistant in this GLC actually is. It's integrated with multiple AI models like ChatGPT or Gemini. Let me demonstrate a simple use case where it can actually be helpful. Imagine you are on a road trip through Europe, but you don't know the speed limits in each country. Hey Mercedes.
Ja, bitte?
Was ist die höchste Geschwindigkeit in Italien, Frankreich und Spanien?
In Italien beträgt die Höchstgeschwindigkeit auf Autobahnen 130 km pro Stunde, in Frankreich ebenfalls 130 km pro Stunde und in Spanien 120 km pro Stunde.
Und in Schweiz?
In der Schweiz beträgt die Höchstgeschwindigkeit auf Autobahnen 120 km pro Stunde.
As you can see, the voice assistant is able to get answers from the AI models and have a multi-turn conversation while understanding simple context. And here are some tests of controlling the car functions with the voice assistant in English and then in German. Hey Mercedes.
Yes.
Set the ambient lighting to red and set the temperature to 25 Celsius degree and close the window for the driver and navigate to Munich.
You got it. Setting the temperature to 25 degrees. Okay, I'm closing the window. Can you say that again, please?
Navigate to Munich.
I'll guide you to Munich.
Hey Mercedes.
Ja, bitte?
Setz die Temperatur auf 23 Grad, öffne das Fenster bei mir und navigiere nach München.
Verstanden. Temperatur wird auf 23 Grad gestellt. Ich mache das Fenster auf. Die aktive Route wird gelöscht. Ich navigiere uns jetzt zum neuen Ziel München.
While the car controls generally work, it often misses 1 or 2 commands, and sometimes it just stops responding altogether. Hey Mercedes.
Yes.
Set ambient lighting to blue Set the temperature to 25 degrees. Turn on the seat heating.
Temperature is 25 degrees.
Navigate me to Munich.
Your destination is Munich.
Turn on the seat heating.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
Hey Mercedes,
How can I help?
turn on the seat heating.
I am switching on the seat heating.
Hey Mercedes,
Ja, bitte.
ändern die Ambientebeleuchtung auf Blau, setzt die Temperatur auf 25 Grad, schließen Fenster bei mir und navigieren nach München.
Kannst du das bitte wiederholen?
Ändern die Ambientebeleuchtung auf Blau, schließen Fenster bei mir. I have very high expectation for MB.OS, so I also tested how well the car actually knows itself. Here are some interesting results I got. Hey Mercedes,
Yes.
do I have seat massage in this car?
Yes, your vehicle massage functionality available as part of its comfort features. For safety reasons, please adhere to the information in the owner's manual.
Then activate the seat massage.
Massage functions aren't available in this car.
Overall, the voice assistant in MB.OS has improved significantly compared to the previous generation of MB.UX. However, there's still room for improvement. Coming to Apple Carplay and Android Auto, I feel it's a bit of waste to have such nice large screen but only use part of it for CarPlay and Android Auto. Not much changed here. Apple's liquid glass design looks great and you get some widgets, but there's still the old problem. You cannot zoom in or out with 2 fingers in Google Map. To me, that seems to be a limitation on Apple's side because you can do that with Android Auto. There's one improvement in Apple CarPlay with MB.OS is that when using the Google Map as navigation, you can also see the navigation in the primary display. And this improvement is also available for Android Auto. You will see the Google Map integrated in the primary display for Android Auto. Let's talk about numbers. This is the GLC 400. It has a power of 360 kilowatt, 489 horsepower, and a battery of 94 kilowatt hours. Besides this GLC 400, there are GLC 250 and GLC 300 with less power and a battery of 85 kilowatt hours. The GLC can charge up to 330 kilowatts. Enough talking, let's drive. Oh, one thing before that. This car does not have any ignition button anymore. Some people might say it's easier for use, but it comes with problem. For example, when I enter the car and I want to deactivate the speed limit warning, this is not possible until I put a gear. And also I cannot change the setting of the car. It's also not available until I put a gear. But when I put a gear, the car will move, and I don't want to change the setting when the car is moving. When I put a gear, I can change the setting, but when I go to stop again, put to the neutral gear, the car will switch off, and I cannot change the setting anymore. So I have to change the setting when the car is in the gear and can move. Then let's move. There are 3 absolute highlights of this car when it comes to driving. The first one is the power. With 489 horsepower and as an electric car, you get instant acceleration whenever you need it. In daily driving, it's really useful when you are getting onto the highway.
Bitte folge dem Straßenverlauf für 16 Kilometer.
The second highlight is the sound isolation. Thanks to the acoustic glass, the cabin stays incredibly quiet even when driving at 140-150 km/h. With so much power and such a quiet cabin, it's actually quite easy to go faster than you realize. Of course, this car can drive fast. You will have no problem cruising at high speeds for a long time, while the cabin remains very comfortable and quiet. And when you want to go faster, the car has more than enough power to deliver. Here's some footage comparing cruising at 120 with driving at 200. I think now you have a good idea of how good the sound isolation is and how easy and fun this car is to drive. Coming to the third highlight for driving, it's the suspension. It feels great, it's not bumpy, just as you would expect from an SUV, but you still feel connected to the road. It gives you enough feedback from the road without making the ride uncomfortable. In terms of energy consumption, I did 2 drives. Both were on the highway. The first one was around 150 kilometers with a more sporty driving style, but I had some traffic. The second one was around 100 kilometers, and I tried to drive more constantly and be more efficient. So now I've entered my route, and the range estimation is dropped to 525, and it has a estimation of SOC at destination of 65. We'll check this out. Now we have 97% SOC. Now I've arrived at my destination. I've driven 154 kilometers, and I started with a SOC of 97%. And the prediction at the beginning was that I would arrive with 65%, and now I have 67%, so it's pretty precise. And I have an average speed of 84 km/h and an average consumption of 19.1 kWh per 100 km. I've driven only the highway, although the average speed is 84 km/h, but I had some traffic and some construction site where I drove much slower than this, but I've also driven this car up to 200 km/h, so the average consumption here, the 19.1 kWh per 100 km, would be slightly higher than the normal case if I would driven constantly at 84 km/h. But overall, the 19.1 kWh for the highway is good. It's the second day now. This time we are going to have a trip of 108 km. We are driving to a charging station. The current SOC is 65%, and estimated SOC at the charging station is 42%. Now we've driven 108 km and arrived at the charging station. We have a SOC of 45%. The prediction at the beginning was 42%, so it's okay, it's precise. And we have an average consumption of 17.7 kWh per 100 km, which is much less than the last trip, because this time I kept my speed as constantly as possible at 120 or 125, and we have an average speed of 88 km/h. Coming to the charging test, we will see whether we can get the claimed 330 kW. I know most of you in the daily use, you might not drive the battery to completely empty and then charge. So you may charge the battery from 30% or 40%. Let's see what charging power we can get and how long do we need to charge to 80% SOC. And the battery is 24 Celsius degree, does not need any optimization. The car has state of charge 45%, maximum charging power 206 kW available. We found this charging station with 400 kW, and the car in parallel is not charging, it's already fully charged, so we should get the full power from the charging station. Let's see what we can get and how long do we need to charge to 80% and charge to 100%. Hey Mercedes,
How can I help?
open the charging cover.
I am opening the charging flap.
After starting the charging session, I got around 200 kW of charging power. It seems to me that the charging power is limited by the car. Charging from 45% to 80% took 15 minutes. On the charger, you can see the charging curve and the reducing of the charging power. To get the full 330 kilowatt, you need to start with a much lower state of the charge. Another charging session showed that charging from 80% to 95% took another 12 minutes. So it's time for my final thoughts. I think Mercedes has done a really interesting job here with the GLC. You get the tech, you get the power, you get the range, and also the charging performance. And most importantly, it feels like a GLC. At the end, all comes down to the price. The new electric GLC retails with different pricing in different countries. Do you think the GLC was the price in your country? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's all from today. Subscribe the channel to see more interesting cars, and I will see you in the next one.